The show with Nancy brought up for me a dynamic I've seen a lot where women and some men, but anecdotally in my experience, mostly women, take a long time to feel powerful or strong or content in their skin. Older women, once they hit 50, 60, and beyond, they seem to come into their own power later in life. And of course, I know there's a social generational component. Nancy's story, for example, was set against the norms of the times that she was in and what was expected of women then. And there has been progress, so we can say that women in their 20s and 30s don't have the same restrictions or expectations now. But there are still whole systems in place across the globe that continue the messaging that women and men have to be a certain way. And usually that means women being compliant. And there are still an overwhelming number of women in domestic situations where they're financially dependent on their spouse, which is a factor in their life that can get complicated if truly the best course forward is to leave. And I have to say, and of course, not every bad relationship rises to this level, but I think a lot of people would be shocked by the current prevalence of intimate partner violence, and formerly called domestic violence, especially in developed countries. And IPV is not just physically putting your hands on someone, like I mentioned on the show. It's also emotional abuse, like calling someone names or degrading them. It's psychological abuse and manipulation, controlling up their behavior, isolating them from friends, showing unhealthy jealousy, taking away financial freedoms, etc. So this isn't some bygone problem, and we can just assume that all younger women out there are self-assured and empowered now. And I live in the United States where there is a lot of talk about women's rights and what that looks like, and frankly, more and more disagreement. So, while I can fully understand the context of why older women take longer to find their voice and power, given the generational component, I'd argue it's a continuous challenge for younger women too. I mean, I look around and you hear a lot of slogans or battle cries, you could call them, women saying, cause trouble, or she persisted, or nice women don't make history, and so on. And these give the illusion that all women are out there using their voices and feeling able to be who they are, but it's not all women. The truth is, I see a lot of teenage girls and women in their 20s and 30s with terrible self esteem and terrible self worth, and they're in terrible relationships. And I know, don't get me started on social media. This would be 4 hours long. I know that's a massive factor in this. But then you see these women get to 40 or 50 or 60 and suddenly feeling like, I don't know, like, fuck it, I'm not going to take on all this garbage anymore. And they finally feel free and powerful. And I don't know, it's hard for me to see so much time wasted before that feeling comes, before they can live a different life. I mean, Nancy herself said that she should have left her first marriage much sooner. She stayed decades longer than she wanted to. And I've had a lot of clients who have stayed in unhealthy relationships for too long, or who stayed in toxic work environments for too long, or have basically pretzeled themselves to death in attempts to stay in friendships or communities for too long. So let's not overcomplicate relationship rights. You have a right to feel safe, respected, and valued. A partner who demeans you, threatens you, harms you, tries to control you, and otherwise dismisses your value or your needs is not a person to be in a relationship with. And I get it. There are so many reasons not to end a marriage. The financial chaos or devastation it could cause, the impact on the children, the loss of stability, cultural or religious consequences, external pressures, fear of loneliness, fear of starting over. There's so many. So I would never ask someone to take the decision lightly or to dismiss those fears or act like it's easy to end a relationship. But it's important to be honest about the reasons you're staying and to figure out if any of those reasons can be addressed in some way to help you leave. I mean, Nancy was wise and able to get her ducks in a row before she ended her marriage. She was able to put time and effort into planning for her own stability before she left so that she could mitigate the fallout from leaving. And she was lucky like that. But I know ending a bad relationship isn't easy. However, once you know it's bad, and you do truly know, it's time to think of how you can safely end it. And the more you show up for yourself by not staying with people who aren't good for you, the faster you'll get to feeling your power. And then hopefully, if you're at a younger stage in your life when this happens, you have more of your life to enjoy. Now, I want to end this, but I have to make a super important note. If you're currently experiencing intimate partner violence, there are extra steps you have to take if you're trying to leave because it can be dangerous. So please reach out to resources in your community that help with IPV survivors and make sure that you have a safety plan for leaving. It's very important. And there's actually a national domestic violence hotline. I believe it's 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE. They truly have so many discreet and helpful ways to support you, and they've thought of all the little pieces that will keep you safe. So please reach out to someone. Now, that's it for this deep dive. If you want to hear more on this topic or be a guest on the show, or you want to hear my rant about social media, it's always bubbling at the surface, email us at the unrelatingpodcast@gmail.com. And make sure to check us out on Interact on our socials because we love to hear from you.